China Cho closing out day one of the California Regional in record-breaking fashion. Hi, everybody. Welcome inside the studios of the CrossFit Games Update Show. I'm Sean Woodland with Tommy Marquez and Pat Sherwood. We'll get you all caught up on everything that happened today in the California Regional. But first, we're going to start you in the East Regional and the women's competition, where we had a record go down there as well. Kalina Ladares, who currently sits in third place, took the record in Randy. Look how close this thing is. 3 points separating first from fourth, and then Carol Ann Reason-Tebow clinging on to that fifth spot by just 6 points over both Kelly Jackson and Carrie Pierce. Let's talk about Kelly Monroe, who's the one name in that leaderboard that we might not recognize. What do we know about her coming into this competition?
Well, she had me intrigued a bit, right? I mean, we didn't talk about her at all, and now, boom, at the end of day one, we're going to talk about her because she's sitting in fourth place. She has never competed at regionals before. This is time number 1. She had a second on Randy and 8th on event number 2. In the Open, she was 25th in the Northeast, 240th worldwide. She's 27 years old, 5'3", and she's out of CrossFit Florian in Norwood, scenic Norwood, Massachusetts. Got to give it a shout out. You know, Massachusetts is my home. That's right.
On the men's side of things, Matt Fraser was the guy that everyone's eyes were on. He had a great day, but he was overshadowed a little bit. Alex Vigneault has the lead going into day 2. 20-point lead over Fraser. Cody Mooney, more on him in a second. He sits in third, and then Spencer Hendel. Great performance by him in event number 2 to lock up the 4th spot heading into the weekend, and then Zachary Moran, who had an event record until Dan Bailey smashed it in Randy. But Matt Fraser sits in second place, poised to make a run this weekend, and he spoke with Nikki Brazier.
All right, Matt, a big number 2 finish today after the first day. Take me through the first 2 events here on Hero Day. What were your strong suits?
Randy it was a decent workout for me. I just kind of tried to keep the same pace through the whole thing, not let go of the bar, and go as fast as possible. But guys up in the Northeast put up a lot of good times, so it was an all right finish. And then the rope climb workout, Tommy V, that huge relief that one went half decently. That was the one I was worried for. It's over. Happy with how I finished, so ready to just have fun the rest of the weekend.
Any specific strategy moving forward into the rest of the weekend here?
Try to keep a smile on my face, have a good time with it, yeah.
And you definitely are. Lots of different types of movements coming up, strength, gymnastics. What are you looking most forward to?
I like the triplet on day 3. I think it's a good mix of like the bigger guys will have an advantage on the rowers, smaller guys will have an advantage on the handstand push-ups and chest to bar. So it's a good mix. Yeah.
Even it all out. Well, good luck with everything. We're excited to see how you do here, man. Congratulations.
Thank you, Nikki. Matt Fraser, a name we expected to see at the top 5, probably expected to see him on top, but a name that we really didn't talk about, Cody Mooney, just 3 points back in third.
Yeah, Cody Mooney, the 20-year-old out of CrossFit MF in Portland, Maine. He was 14th last year at regionals as a 19-year-old, and he finished second in Tommy V after an impressive showing in Randy. And really, he was 7th in the Open this year. He's super young, and he's one of those guys, Sean, where I think he's another up-and-comer that we're seeing kind of come out of the woodwork to challenge some of these big dogs. And, I mean, yet again, another young guy coming to make me feel bad about my fitness. So I'm super impressed with him so far.
On the team side of things, they wrapped up earlier today, and it was Fiternity with a great start. They get 195 out of a possible 200 points, and they sit atop the leaderboard ahead of both CrossFit New England and Pro One Montreal. CrossFit New England has 2 teams in the top 5 as CrossFit New England Courage is holding off Lucene CrossFit Toscaro by just 3 points. Only 29 points separating 5th from 12th, so still a lot can happen in that team competition on day 2. Meanwhile, over in California, let's talk about the teams there. And that thing started off with a bang as NorCal CrossFit said, we are here to compete for the top spot at the podium in Carson.
Well, there's been a lot of hubbub about the team competition, and in this region it was NorCal all the way. And they started off right on event number 1 with a world record, letting Ute CrossFit know, hey, we're coming for you, boys. On event number 1, they got 12 minutes and 18 seconds. The previous record was a minute slower, 13:28. Event 2, they took third, and overall, after day 1, sitting in first. Now, this is the team that was worldwide in the Open, and I think they're going to continue this path the whole way to the podium.
And they talk a lot on social media, you know, they kind of stir up some trash with some of the other teams, but they can totally back it up.
Right.
I mean, the next closest team on that first event was 2 minutes behind them. So they can totally back it up, and I fully expect some more event records to come from this team.
Despite the fact that NorCal had such a dominant performance in Event 1, they still are not in the clear as far as the top spot on the leaderboard is concerned. They do occupy that, but it's only by 5 points over Kinnick. 190 for NorCal, 185 for Kinnick, and then it's Diablo, CrossFit, Anejo. They are in third, followed by CrossFit 808, and then the defending Affiliate Cup champions Invictus. They are in fifth place, but it was a great day for NorCal CrossFit, and they spoke with Amanda Krenz.
All right, NorCal CrossFit, you are the overall team leader for the day. You guys are well known. Does that put any more pressure on you?
I mean, I think the right answer would be like, no, we're just here to have fun and stuff. But, I mean, definitely there might be a little bit more pressure or hype, especially with this guy back here on our team. But we're a team. We come out here together. There's not one person that's going to win or lose for the team. So, yeah, there's pressure, but we have a great time and a great vibe as our group. So we're just out here focusing on us.
You do maybe have a little bit different dynamic with this guy in the picture now. How has that changed things?
It's changed things a little bit. There is a little bit more pressure with Jason, but at the same time, for the most part, this crew's been training together for years. So when we come out here, it's no different than what it's been in the gym for years now. So
Here's the team leaderboard that we just mentioned. It's NorCal CrossFit, just a 5-point lead. Invictus, the defending Affiliate Cup champions, they currently sit in fifth place in that fifth and final qualifying spot to the games. They're only 10 points up on CrossFit Foothill, but plenty of teams still in contention, just 36 points separating fifth from 12th. Over on the men's side, speaking of record-breaking performances, that started off with a bang. Dan Bailey said, I think I can win Event 1, called his shot.
Yeah, didn't just win it. He beat the next guy by 20 seconds, set an event record. At his pace, he averaged a rep every 2 seconds for the entirety of the 75 snatch reps. He came out like a bat out of hell. He set the event record, like we said. When you beat someone by 20 seconds, it makes a much bigger difference when the workout's only 2.5 minutes long. For a guy like Dan, he loves these throttle-type workouts. He excels at them. We've seen him set some event records in similar workouts before in the past, and this is a great position for him to be in, especially going into day 2 that's got that long chipper and maybe a snatch lift that might not be his best.
And as a result of that record-breaking performance, Dan Bailey does sit atop the leaderboard as we head into a very busy Saturday. He is 10 points ahead of John Para. Rasmus Anderson is in third place. Neil Maddox representing NorCal up there in fourth, and then Ben Alderman 8 points up on Julian Alacraz for that fifth and final spot. And then Josh Bridges sits in seventh place. Let's talk about Bridges here because, man, he had a little bit of a disaster on event number 1 and then came back and totally redeemed himself at event number 2.
Well played, but I don't think he's out of the woods. As a matter of fact, I think Josh Bridges is in serious trouble moving into day 2. So day 1 didn't go his way. Yes, event number 1, 25th place, which sounds so bad, and it is in the point standings, but he did it in 2 minutes and 59 seconds. That's just how fast the field is. Came back on Tommy V, taking third, 8 minutes and 8 seconds. He's in 7th right now, 13 points out of 5th, but here's the deal. Looking forward to day 2, historically a monumental day. I think he'll do good on event number 3. And handstand walking usually isn't his game so much. He'll do okay, but he doesn't need a middle-of-the-pack performance. He needs to excel. And then he doesn't have one of the bigger snatches out there. So 2 out of the 3 events tomorrow don't look good for Josh.
You know, another name that we talked about coming into this event is Kenneth Leverage. He's done well down there in the Southern California Regional, for quite a while. He sits in 23rd right now.
Yeah, Sean, not something you would expect from the guy who won the SoCal Regional last year. And he's been to the games 3 straight times. And if the point totals from the last couple of weeks are any indication, he would need to average a 5th place finish going forward through the rest of the weekend, these last 5 workouts, in order to just make it into the top 5 of that last 5th place finishing spot. So he's really kind of used his get out of jail free cards, and there is absolutely no room for error to Kenny to have any sort of finish outside the top 5 going forward if he wants to make it back to Carson.
On the women's side of things, coming into this, we said the SoCal women, have the advantage here. Well, after day 1, it's a NorCal woman who sits on top of the leaderboard, and that's China Cho after a record-setting performance there in event 2.
Yep, didn't even put her in my top 5. I think she might have disagreed with my list. She's having a phenomenal day 1. This is a woman who last year took 15th at the CrossFit Games. Now, 7th on event number 1, 1st on event number 2, and at the end of the day, sitting in 1st overall. She's been to the games twice before, clearly looking to go back for time number 3. She's out of CrossFit Fremont here in California, and man, she keeps this going, and I'm going to continue to eat my words.
And China Cho does sit atop the leaderboard after that 7th place and the record-setting performance. 173 points behind her. Another NorCal woman, Brooke Enns, back-to-back 5th place finishes, have her sitting in 2nd. Lindsay Valenzuela trying to make her way back to the games. She is in 3rd. Kirsten Pedri is in 4th, and then Alessandra Pacelli, another NorCal woman. So good day for the NorCal women, but again, a lot of events and 35 points separating 5th from 12th, so plenty that still needs to be decided. You train with Brooke Enns, you know her very well, and this is exactly the kind of day that she needed to have.
Absolutely, and I wouldn't quite say train with her, more like I get beat up by her every day in the gym.
I was trying to give you the benefit of the doubt.
But we've talked about Brooke Enns before as a woman who's extremely talented. She's a close friend of mine. And this was the perfect day for her in terms of finishing both events inside the top 5, finding some consistency, because we know going into day number 2, something like the snatch and the handstand walk are going to be very well for her. Remember, she won the snatch event in NorCal last year, so a great start for her if she wants to make her first trip to the CrossFit Games.
A woman that we thought might be on top of the leaderboard, or at least in the top 5, was Valerie Vobril, because that's what she does. She kind of just sneaks in there. Well, right now, not looking good for Valerie Vobril. Our first edition here, the regional edition of Vobril Watch. 22nd, 24th, and now overall, right now, Valerie Vobril sits in 26th place. The scores have just updated. She is in 26th place with a total of 82 points. And I mean, you want to talk about having to be perfect for the next 5 events. That's pretty much what she has to do here.
100% shocked at what's actually going on right now. This is a woman who last year, she took 1st place in the SoCal Regionals. You don't expect her to be struggling so bad at the end of day 1. She's been to the games 5 times, and yes, a 22nd and 24th, and now sitting 26th overall with as competitive as the region's showing. It might be too early to call it, but shy of a miracle, because what she needs to do exceptionally well, and all these talented women at the top need to have 2 bad days in a row. That's a lot to ask.
It's almost similar to Kenny Leverage. Both of last year's SoCal champions are sitting outside the top 20 after day number 1.
Rory McKernan is in Del Mar. He spent the day watching the competition, and he joins us now via Skype. Rory, you probably have the best seat in the house down there. A couple things I want to ask you about. The first, Rasmus Andersson sits in 3rd. Is this guy for real? Rory, can you hear me? I'm just trying to talk to you about Rasmus Andersson. Question there, is that guy for real and the men's side of things?
When in doubt, just stand there and look
When in doubt, Rory's just going to stare at me. I don't think Rory can hear me right now via Skype. We'll try to get that hook backed up and check with him. But let's talk about that here. Rasmus Andersson, a guy we talked about, coming into the competition. We knew what he had done, on the team side of the house. Proven that he definitely has what it takes on the individual competition.
I'm sold on him already. We kind of pinned him from the beginning. And he's a bigger guy, corn-fed, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for somebody like that to beat Josh Bridges on Tommy V, that's when I was like, okay, this guy can move his own body weight up and down the rope. He's going to be a 100% threat.
And I was super impressed with his strategy on this workout in particular. It kind of looked like guys like Kenny Leverage and Josh Bridges were ahead of him in the first couple rounds. He kind of stuck to his pace, hung around the middle of the pack, and when it got to that final set of rope climbs, he really turned it on. Got 2nd overall in that workout, and that's kind of the maturity you would like to see out of a guy who's trying to make it to his first CrossFit Games as an individual.
The Pacific region down in Australia is going on day 2 right now. They're in the middle of the team competition, but the big story down there is Cara Webb. Won back-to-back events. Kayla Banfield is in Wollongong and filed this report leading into day 2.
After speaking to Cara yesterday after 2 event wins, I really noticed a sense of calmness and composure from her. Now, she mentioned obviously she's coming into this season feeling physically strong, but she's also coming into the season feeling really mentally prepared for basically anything the season can throw at her. Now, obviously she's extremely happy with her event wins yesterday, but she is really looking forward to showing everyone what she's got in the tank for day 2 and cannot wait to throw down some big numbers in front of the roaring crowd.
Thank you, Kayla. I'm told that we now have Rory McKernan available via Skype. Rory, can you hear me?
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Hey, Rory, there you go. First thing we wanted to talk about, we spent some time talking about it here on the desk, is Rasmus Andersson. You had a front row seat to watch him. Do you think he is for real?
I think the kid's absolutely for real. What I didn't know about him, he competed in 2012 in Europe as an individual, went into the holding tank, he came over to Invictus, and he never left since. So last year he was a team competitor. CJ tells me he's got all the tools you would need. And judging from day one, I mean, he knows how to play the game, and he's absolutely got the skill set. So he seems like the real deal, and one hell of a guy. He was super nice.
Next question, we spoke about this as well. You know, Josh Bridges didn't do so well out of the gates, but made up a lot of ground there in event number 2. He still has some work to do. What does Bridges need to do now to get himself back into the top 5?
Well, Bridges is cool. You know, he's a veteran, so he knows this new point structure favors someone like himself who can hit those home runs. He was actually beside himself, absolutely livid that he let Rasmus basically Rasmus pulled the Josh Bridges on Josh Bridges. So Josh knows that he lost those 10 points, I guess, because he ended up in 3rd in that event. But he's got that mentality. He knows that he can get event wins to mitigate that first 25th place loss. He's worried about the snatch, but he's very confident about tomorrow's event number 3. With another first place finish, he could bump himself back up the standings.
And finally, on the women's side of things, you talked to C.J. Martin earlier about Lauren Fisher. She said she was feeling good coming into the competition. She's now been through 2 events. What have you seen from her?
Yeah, you know, I'm not just talking to CJ, but also talking to Lauren. She told me she's feeling fine. She even told me that on Randy it had nothing to do with her foot. It was just a bad event for her. I got to be honest with you that I just don't believe that. Our good friend Sam Briggs, who you guys know, 2nd place finisher from the Atlantic Regional last week, is here on site. And she said that with her foot, I know it's not apples to apples, but it's the same area of injury. She said event number 3 was the most difficult one for her. And so she's worried about Lauren going into that event. I think that's going to be the indicator for the rest of the weekend because Lauren's dropped way down the leaderboard after just 2 events. So I guess time will tell.
Rory McKernan live from Del Mar after day 1 of the California Regional. Ro, thanks so much. Have fun down there. We look forward to hearing from you over the weekend. And Lauren Fisher right now, after 2 events, sits in 20th place, so she has a lot of ground to make up. Busy day 1 here in week 2 of regionals. Remember, Pacific in Australia, they're going right now. You can flip over and start watching that. They're in the team competition. We'll have wall-to-wall coverage again starting tomorrow morning and proceeding through the rest of the weekend. For Pat Sherwood and Tommy Marquez, I'm Sean Woodland. Day 2 is going to be a blast.